Hey guys, today I'm doing a quick review of the Opteka 420-800mm lens. Someone brought this lens to my attention through a comment on my review of the Opteka 650-1300mm lens, asking how it compared to that. So I'll go over that a little bit at the end of this, but right now I just want to go through kind of a review of this lens. As you can see, it's not a huge lens, which makes it kind of nice for travel. It comes in a little case, or at least it did when I bought it. I bought it for around $100, and from where I've seen, that's basically what you should be paying for it, a little more than $100. So this is what the lens itself looks like. What are you guys doing? I'm gonna do it here. You wanna smell the lens? Yes, smell good? Okay. Alright, can you go lay down, please? I have dogs around me now, just in case you guys hear anything. That's what it is. Whenever you guys are done. So this is what the lens basically looks like. As you can see, it's not giant compared to my face. It's all manual. So these Opteka lenses, the reason that this is $100 telephoto lens, similar to the Opteka 650-1300 lens, it's because it's all manual. There's nothing automatic about this. If that's gonna frustrate you, this isn't the lens for you. Full manual lens is not gonna be the lens for fast moving photography. Certain sports photography, maybe if you don't have to change your focus too much, the players are kind of staying at the same distance from your lens. Animal photography, if they're slower moving, cool. Like if you're trying to photograph birds while they're flying, this probably isn't the lens for that, unfortunately, because it's all manual. You won't be able to focus on the fast-moving objects quickly enough. It is a nice light lens. It's a little over a pound in weight. The zoom is manual, like everything else, so it's push-pull. You can see the focal length marks here along the lens. It comes with a built-in tripod mounter, so the lens could attach to your tripod rather than your camera, but that's really not actually necessary because the lens is light enough. I shot it both with the lens attached to the tripod and my camera attached to the tripod, and the lens just hanging off the end. So if you attach this to your tripod and then have the camera hanging off the back, you know you're gonna have extra weight that's gonna pull your camera sort of down and the lens up. If you have the camera attached to your tripod and this hanging off the front, you might get a little bit of gravity pulling the lens down and might have to compensate a little bit that way. So you just have to keep that in mind in choosing whether or not you attach the lens to your tripod or the camera. Right here is going to be where it attaches to your camera. You do have to get a T-mount adapter, which many times will come with this lens. It came with it when I bought it. I'll put a link to that in the description and whatnot if you need to buy it separately, but it did come with the lens when I got it. You want to make sure and check that whatever adapter you get to attach the sort of lens to your camera, that it's going to be the right adapter, that, you know, if it's Canon versus Nikon, it might be something different. Adjustable tripod ring. So you just unscrew it or screw it down to wherever you want to attach this to the tripod. You have a lock and unlock ring here, which will lock your zoom into place, the focal length that you're choosing to work at. And so if that's locked down, it's difficult to move. I honestly don't find that I need to use this much because the lens doesn't zoom particularly easily. I'm not really concerned. It's not locked. I'm not super concerned about it coming undone while shooting, but if you did want to lock it down, you definitely have that option, and it's not a bad idea. This is where you'll adjust your focus, grip pad. So I'm going to show you some moon photos that I took with this lens so you can get an idea of where it can get to. I'll show you photos that I took when it was at 420 and when it was at 800. Also, something to keep in mind is the Opteka 650-1300 comes with a 2x converter, which essentially turns it into a 2600mm lens. You can use that same 2x converter, the Opteka 2x converter, on this. So when I show you some photos that I took with this, I'm pretty impressed with its ability, because I picked the worst night to go take moon photos. It had been stormy, and then it had been a new moon, and I was finally there was finally a clear night where the moon was out. So I decided to go up on top of this hill, take photos of the moon, and I got up to the top and it was just so windy. I was using the tripod, I was using a remote, I was doing everything that I could to try and make it stable. I upped the shutter speed a lot, which meant that I had to turn the ISO up a little bit, so it affects the graininess of some of the photos a little bit, but it's not terrible. So it is kind of a testament to this lens's ability that the photos turned out okay, because the lens was shaking a lot. And now I just want to touch a little bit on this lens versus the bigger lens, because there was a question about that from one of the commenters on the other Opteka video, and so thank you for bringing this whole lens up, otherwise I wouldn't have even tried it. One obvious perk of this lens is the size and the weight. The other one is big. I wouldn't bring it with me like on an airplane. I wouldn't want to. This lens is a great alternative for that sort of situation where you don't want to have to pack around something bigger and bulkier. If you are traveling to something like a national park, if you're taking a road trip somewhere and you kind of want to know that you're going to have the option for the longest focal length possible, if you think you might want to use that 2600mm focal length that the bigger Opteka lens offers when you add that 2x converter, then at least you have the option. But if you don't want to have to haul around the bigger lens, this one's a great alternative because you can use that 2x converter with this one. So you can take the max focal length from 800 to 1600 on this one. Quality-wise, they seem fairly similar to me. I won't say that I am the best photographer with either of these, and so if you're a better photographer, make better life decisions about when you're gonna go take your photographs, like maybe not when it feels like a tornado is coming. Find out that you can no longer feel your fingers. If you make those sort of decisions as a photographer, you'll probably be able to get better photographs than me. I'm definitely hanging on to this lens. I really like having the option of this smaller telephoto lens. So go over this again. We have 420 to 800mm focal length, a little over a pound in weight, so not bad. Pretty small for a telephoto lens. We have an adjustable tripod mount. You do need the T-mount adapter to adapt it to your camera because it won't just fit straight onto your camera. You can use the 2x converter, the same one that you would use with the bigger Opteka lens, and the adapter is the same that you would use with the bigger Opteka lens as well. If I had to tell you to choose between the two, I'd honestly probably go for this one. I like personally having both at my disposal, but for everyday sort of use, for playing around with telephoto lenses and what you can do with that, I think this will serve a lot of your purposes, probably most of your purposes, pretty well. I've seen several reviews of the lens that are negative, and they almost all, from what I've seen, have to do with it being too slow or the manual aspect being too difficult or irritating. When you're getting a full manual lens, you do have to keep in mind it is not going to be the lens for fast moving objects. It's going to take a while for you to adjust it because you do have to adjust both the zoom and the focus manually. Set your expectations there because it can be a great lens for learning, for practicing, for being able to do things that you haven't done before. Telephoto lens photography is interesting, and being able to take photos of the moon up close is really cool. Being able to take photos of animals that are really far away, that's really cool. But you do have to set your expectations when you're getting a $100 lens that still has some of those capabilities. There is a little bit of compromise. But for me, it's worth it, and I enjoy using this lens. The price tag for me is really nice too, because I do like not having to worry about if a lens gets lost or stolen or broken. I almost left my entire camera set in a bathroom in Germany one time. So having some cheaper equipment is not always a bad thing. I hope this answered all your questions about this lens, and if you do have other questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments and I will try to answer them as best I can. Links for everything in the description, a link to a full written review if you want to check that out too. Clearly losing a lot of light, so